All right, welcome back to our class. Of course, we're in the Graduate Research and Design class, and we are into a new week. It's March 20th. So this week is actually about case study research and mixed methods research. Now, as case study is kind of hard to pin down on exactly what it is, and I think the trick to look at it is if it's not the other kinds of qualitative research. If it's not ethnographic research or narrative research. And remember, ethnographic research is that method where you are studying a culture, you're studying the common beliefs or common practices among a group of people. And then narrative research is an individual. Like most of the time you're studying just an individual and their stories. So if it's neither one of those, it's probably case study research. One of the keys to case study research is that idea of a bounded system. In other words, the case study research must focus on a certain bounded system. Now, what that is, it's hard to define because it's whatever you choose, but you do need to select something systematically or clearly select a bounded system to cover in your case study research. So that's one thing that you'll read about this week and learn about more is the case study method of research. So that's our final qualitative research method that we're learning about in this class. And then mixed methods research is what the chapter 15 is about, and that's just basically combining some qualitative research method with a quantitative research method within the same research study. And in fact, a lot of the research that I do tends to be mixed methods research just because it's more practical in a lot of ways that way. And you can take advantage of the strengths of the quantitative approach, which will give you data or numbers, and the qualitative approach, which gives you feelings or thoughts or reactions to things, and combine those to get a better picture of what's really going on in the study that you're doing. So that is a mixed methods research. Now, in this class, this is your first foray into the research field and in doing research studies. So I discourage you from doing mixed methods research where you might have things like qualitative elements such as interviews or observations, and quantitative elements where you might have a survey or a test or collect test scores and those kinds of things together in one study. Instead, I want you to focus on one method, and the reason for that is just for simplicity's sake. It makes life easier on you because if you want to, the more methods you include in your research, the more you have to figure out how to make sure those methods are all done correctly. So when you pick your method for your research study, which you will be doing soon for sure, then you want to pick one of the methods. And you want to pick not just qualitative or quantitative. No, that's not specific enough. You need to choose quantitative experimental or qualitative narrative research. One of those types, because then again you have to this is your first chance to go through the research, so you have to know that method very well, and you have to go back to that chapter, figure out what all the elements of that method of research are, and make sure those are included in your assignment so that I can grade it and give you a good grade for that. So yes, I'm asking you to choose research methods pretty soon anyway. But this week, here are the activities. You're going to read Chapter 14 on case study research, Chapter 15 on mixed methods research, do the quizzes for those, and then there is a discussion as we talk about qualitative research methods, and I added mixed methods research in there as a method as well. After reading about those, have your research study ideas changed at all? And if so, how have you thought differently about your plan? And how could one of these qualitative research methods enhance your or a research study? So that's a question to answer for the discussion this week, and those are the activities for this week. Now looking ahead just a bit, next week is a pretty simple week for activities. We just have Chapter 16 for reading on action research, which I have also used for actually a recent study that I'm doing, and this study that we're doing now can be kind of considered that in some ways. But you also have the Design Participants Procedures assignment due. And so in this assignment, again, I'm asking you to identify your research proposal as either qualitative or quantitative, but you don't stop there. You go on and you determine which type of quantitative or qualitative study your proposal represents. And you have to choose one of these methods, whether it's survey research, causal comparative, ethnographic case study, or what. And then once you have identified your research, you have to basically state what type of research that is. And then if it's quantitative, you have a different set of instructions for that, but if it's qualitative, you have a different set of instructions for that as well. And you need to include things like the type of research, the participants that you expect to have, and the instruments that you will use in your study. So remember, we talked about instruments. So I'm thinking I want actual instruments, and I want actual people for participants that you're going to study. And then design and procedure, basically. So again, for this next week's assignment, I want actual people that you're actually going to study. Now in this class, again, you don't have to actually conduct this study, but I want you to get up to that point. So I want you to name actual people that you think you could or that would work for this type of study, not just a random group or some individual. I want some details about these people and about the instrument that you are going to use, an actual instrument that's out there, or at least possible sample items from an instrument that you intend to create, or something like that. So be as realistic as you can for the design participants procedures assignment. And finally, we have the research activity. It is listed on last week as being due. Many of you have completed it, but many of you have not. And so just keep carrying on with that. Be patient. If you are an interviewer and you have an interviewee who's not very good at responding and so forth, just be patient with them. But as a reminder, if you are interviewing someone for this assignment as well, make sure that you transcribe the interview. So make sure you record the interview first of all, and then transcribe the whole thing by typing up every word that was said in the interview by your interviewee. But if they're not responding, just give them another week and then maybe write back and say, is there a time that might be available, and so forth. And if you have any questions about that, write me and I can give you some advice as well on that. But and that's the way it is with any research study. You kind of you're at the mercy of the participants that you have. You cannot control them, and you cannot make them meet with you. That would be unethical anyway, according to the research guidelines that we've been learning about, right? You can't force them to be part of it. So you just kind of help and remind, and hopefully eventually they will come back and write back and say, let's meet at this time, and it'll work out. So just keep being patient with that. All right, that's about it. Have a great week.